So about 10 days after this whole thing started, I walked into the health center at school and I saw a counselor who happened also to be a psychiatrist. She didn't point out that I had recently left behind everything and everyone I'd ever known, moved to the other side of the country to start life on my own. She didn't mention that that's a hard thing to do and maybe cause for feeling a little upset for a while. She didn't point out that the guy who I'd thought was so wonderful probably had some issues of his own to sort through. She didn't remind me that the fact that I'd already made some friends and was doing pretty well in my classes seemed to suggest that, present feelings aside, it seemed like maybe I was making the adjustment pretty well. Maybe she thought that all those things were really obvious to me, that I'd already taken them into account. But I absolutely didn't have that kind of perspective, and I think that most adolescents don't. I also left with a new story about myself, which is the idea that what was wrong is that I had a chemical imbalance in my brain. I didn't know it, but I had just gotten tangled up with a big historical change that was happening fast and furious during the late 1990s. Not only were antidepressants becoming more and more popular, but along with that popularity, a new way of thinking about depression and many other problems was taking hold. Called the Biomedical model of mental disorder, this way of thinking maintains that depression, anxiety, obsessiveness, attention deficit disorder, and the like are caused by problems with the structure or function of the brain. By the same token, I knew that college is a time of choices. You choose a major, you choose a path in life, you form friendships that might last forever. Well, if I was taking a pill every day that altered my perception of the world, how could I know if I was choosing what I really wanted? Was I creating the right life for me, or was I creating the right life for some Zoloft-induced version of myself? Who was the real me anyway? Was it the person I was when I was taking antidepressants, or the person I was when I wasn't? Riddles like these consumed me. Growing up, figuring out who you are and finding your place in the world involves so much more than anything that falls under the category of mental health care. I want to suggest that the big question in front of most of you isn't, do I or don't I need to be on medication? The question is, how do I get from point A to point B, where point A is a teenager who's leaving home and starting out on the first time for her own, and point B is an adult who is self-reliant, who functions, who works in some kind of a calling. Medication might be a piece of the puzzle, but it's never going to be the whole thing.